my line from here, this one, insert into shops, values, and I try to put again 1, even if I have 1 in my table. Of course, that error that I'm going to receive, it's violation of primary key constraint. Cannot insert duplicate keys. So this is one of the referential integrity constraints that we have there in the requirement. Okay, so you should also try this type of examples to see it by yourself, what really happens. I have then another example in which I'm trying to add the value 2 on a primary key, but I already have 2 as a primary key, so definitely is not going to work, and I'm going to receive the same error message as you can see here. And not in the end, I still want to show you what happens if you have a restriction that is called not null. This is also one of the conditions, no referential integrity constraint. I'm trying to insert null on the position of the city, insert into shops, 3 plus R 5, and null. Definitely is not going to work. It's not respecting the integrity constraint, the referential integrity constraint. You cannot insert null, cannot insert the value null into column city. Definitely this kind of errors, it's better to check by yourself and try to see what happens. We are not going to, of course, insert wrong values usually, but as a starting point, it's good to understand what really happens there, and that's why I put also the error messages to see what to expect to. Okay. So this is related to the table shops. And then if I'm going to have a select from shops, because I want to see what I'm having after these inserts in my table, I'm going to see that I have these 2 shops. These are the shops that I'm going to work with. Please tell me if you have questions related to this insert. Okay, so if you don't have questions, then I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you now the insertion in the table ingredients. All the time I'm looking on the diagram because there I can see better what tables I have or the structure of the tables. Or you can also look on the code, or you can look on the left side where you have the columns of each table. Any solution, it's a good one. Okay, why I consider this table ingredients? Because on the position on the primary key, I put this identity constraint. Identity means that you don't have to insert anything on that column. It's going to be inserted automatically. If you do an insertion and it's not correct, it's going to count you that number. So it's going to take it like, okay, that was the first time. So this means that we was supposed to put on the identity 1. So the first one that is going to be inserted is going to be 2, if the first one was not corrected. So I have the ID of the ingredient, I have the name, the quantity, and the price. I have also a default value here. But I'm going to insert only on 3 columns because identity is not inserted anytime. So I have insert into ingredients, name, quantity, price, only those 3 columns, and I have, let's say, mint, I have 3 and I have 8. So this is everything that I have to do. Also, because you put on the quantity the default constraint, you can insert, for example, only on 2 of the columns. I'm going to insert on the name, price, and the values are berries and 4. An example. Also, you can insert, if you don't want to insert on the columns that are supposed to be null, you don't have to. If you want to insert, for example, just one field, you can do that. Of course, this is not what we want, because it's not quite relevant if we insert just the name to have something there. And that's why I'm trying to show you what are the good options to insert on your tables. Okay, now if I'm going to try to execute this insert into ingredients, values 2 oranges, 3 7. If we look on the structure of the table, we would say, yeah, it's correct, are 4 columns. But this column that is identity is not going to allow you to insert a value on it. And that's why when you have identity, you consider only the other columns, not the identity column. And that's the error, the same. So no chance to insert it. And this is the same error, but the problem is that I also put here the name of the fields. Even if you put the name of the fields, even if you don't put the name of the field, the primary key, that is identity, does not have a value at the insertion point. That's a rule that should be all the time keep in your attention. Yes, and the message, of course, is cannot insert explicit value for identity column in the table ingredients where identity insert is set to off. This is the message. Anyhow, these first 2 inserts inserted in my table what I really wanted. And as you can see here from the select, you have the mint and you have also the berries. So you have everything that you are needing in your database. Okay, if you have questions related to this ingredients table, please tell me.
What's that thing about identity inserts?
The things, well,
Yeah,
I
it
don't.
says that when identity insert is off, we cannot insert explicitly, but how can we turn it on if we ever want to? I I'm just asking.
Yes, there is a command that allows you to turn it on. I don't know. I have to search it for it. Identity. It's very short. You just have to Google it, and it's going to show you.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it's possible. Or for example, there is also possible for the identity to reset the values. Because if you're going to insert only correct values, you're going to have exactly like here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and so on. But if you insert at one point a value that is not correct, definitely is not going to insert you any value. You have an error message, not because of the identity, because of any other constraint. Let's say it's the position 3. You are not going to have that 3 because the ID 3 was already taken with taken, and it's going to be then 4. If the correct one is going to be only with the ID 4, it's going to be just 4. And maybe sometimes you want to reset it and start it from 1, and also that one can be done.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to try. It's much better when you try and discover by yourself. Oh, and not discover. The idea is to feel it exactly how it is. Okay, so if there are no questions, I'm going to move to the table that is called T's. This is my table T's. It's better on the diagram. Of course, I have the ID of the T. It's a primary key, has a name, has a quantity, a price, and of course, it has the foreign key. This is the moment in which I really need to open my select from the table that was united with or in relation with. From ingredients, the ingredients that I'm having are 1 and 2. So I can insert on that position only 1 and 2. 1 or 2. Okay, so a correct one is here insert into T's, CID, name, quantity, price, EID. I'm going to have 1. Let's say I have the mean t, I have 1, 7, and 1. The last one, this is the most important one, is going to be from here taken. So you have to pay attention all the time. You need to open this table and take from there the values, not take other values. If, for example, the last one, this one, insert into T, CID, name, quantity, the last line, I put here 6. But if I'm looking on the table ingredients, I don't have the ingredient 6. And that's another referential constraint integrity. You can see here the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. So this is the rule that you have to take into account all the time when you have foreign keys. Just pay attention to put the values that exist already in the table ingredients in our case, because if you don't put those values, nothing is going to be inserted, just a foreign key constraint error you're going to receive. That's the only things to the foreign key. And anyhow, you can insert as much values as you want. For example, I also inserted forest fruit tea, and this one is also containing the ingredient mint, because this is how I decided. So I can have the same ID for as many records here as I want. So as a rule, as I was telling you on the create table, because it's the same. On the insert, first I'm inserting in the table that is part 1 of the relation. In my case, on the ingredients, I'm taking these IDs and I put them on the table T's. If I have 1 here, I'm going to also to have 1 here. If I have 2, I have 2, and so on.
But I'm sorry, isn't this a many-to-many relationship between ingredients and teas?
In my implementation, no, it's not.
Okay.
But yes, if you think like in a tea there are multiple ingredients and an ingredient can be found in multiple teas, yeah, you can have that relation many to many. But to be honest, when I thought about this relation, I was thinking like a principal ingredient. Each tea has just one principal ingredient, and an ingredient can be found in multiple teas. Yeah, I didn't want to work with the tea types, wasn't very friendly to me. I wanted to change it, and that's why I took ingredients.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. But if you want to have that relation many to many, yeah, of course you can have it. It's just up to you. That was an example of being selfish and do it and make it as you feel it or as you want it. And this is the case. This is my case, to be honest. Okay, so this is the relation 1 to many. Do you have questions related of how you insert in a table that is part many of a relation 1 to many? Okay, if you don't have questions, then I'm going to move to this intermediate table, to the relation many to many. What do I need here? First, I need a shop, and definitely I need also a tea. When we created this table, we first created the shops, and then the teas, and only after that we could create this table shops teas. As you can see, I already had inserted in the shops. And if we check here, I have the shop 1 and the shop 2. If I'm going to check on the T's, I have the T1 and the T2. Okay, this is how unfortunately you have to handle it. You have to select and see what you have in that table. You have to take it manually. Sorry. There is also an instruction that I'm going to tell you about it, but later, that can generate, for example, all the combinations. But in this moment, we are not quite there. Also, on the fourth homework that you have to prepare, you are going to have to put here the value taken from the other table. But when you put that value with a command, there are some restrictions. You cannot take any value that you want. You can take the minimum value or the maximum or the first one, but usually those are all the almost the ones that you can have no more. If you want other value, it's not quite possible. But in this point, you just have to do it like this, as I'm showing you. Okay, so the idea is that when you insert in this table, you have to have, like me, to select and see which are the values so that you can combine the pairs and insert there. So I have here insert into shops this. I have the ID. Let me check the ID of the ID of the T, and then I have the ID of the shop. T and shop. You know, the order is important. That's why I was looking. In this case, it's 1 and 2, but in other cases where when the values are different, it's not that easy. So I have the T and the shop. I'm going to insert the T1 in the shop 2. Then I'm going to insert the T2 in the shop 2. But also I can insert the T1 in the shop 1 and the T2 in the shop 1. These are the only possible solutions. You don't really need to insert all of them, but I tried. Why not?
Now I have a question.
Yes.
Isn't there an issue with the last insert because we already inserted the T2 into shop 1?
You have already inserted, sorry, this
T2
one?
into shop 1, yeah. On the first line, because
Yes.
we switched the keys.
Yes. This is what I was what I was trying to check. Yes, exactly. There is an error. Thank you very much for pointing this one. I also said that on the video. Yes, I was kind of cheater here because I switched them. When you put the list of the fields here, definitely you can put the list of the fields in the order that you like. And yes, I switched them because the order from the table T's shop T's was shop and then the T. And your colleague is perfectly right. Yes, it's the same pair, 1 with 2. If we write it as on the first insert, is also 1 with 2. And of course, it's not possible. It's again a violation of primary key constraint. Anyway, it's the third line, and the message is corresponding to the third line. Yeah, so thank you for pointing this out. It was very, very important. If you also try to insert a value that does not exist, and you could see exactly here on the foreign key position, it's the same. If you try to put, for example, 1 with 4, of course, it's going to be the foreign key is not fulfilled. The constraint of the foreign key is not fulfilled. Or 6 with 9. Also, those values that does not exist. If I'm trying to insert again the pair 2 with 2, then the primary constraint is not fulfilled. So these are the type of errors that you usually can get when you try to insert values that are not corresponding or were already inserted. These are the messages for short. And of course that if I'm going to try to have a select from this table, I'm going to have just 2 pairs, the good ones that were inserted. Okay, so please tell me if you have questions until this point. Okay, so if you don't have question, I want to end this this part related to the insert command with a short example. Also, we will have this kind of examples tomorrow on the seminar. I'm going to select from the shops inner join. What do I mean by inner join? When I want to, let's say, I want to combine everything that I'm having in my table, but combine them correctly. I have to connect the primary keys with the foreign keys. Just one moment. Here what I'm doing, I want to see for each shops the T's that can be found there. So this means that I need to go from my table shops to my table T's. I can do this by using the table shops, shops T's and T's. Practically, I'm going to connect to check the PID from the shops to be equal with the PID from the shops T's, the primary key with the foreign key, and then I'm going to check the foreign key from the shops T's with the primary key from the T's. When I'm doing these kind of connections, I'm going to be able to extract correspondingly to each shop the T that can be found there. And more than this, I can display all the information that I'm having in these tables. This is a connection of how we extract what we want for multiple tables. And this command that is written here and is called inner join is doing exactly as I told you. Select from my table shops, inner join shops T's, the intermediate table, on the condition, and inner join with the other table on the condition, primary key equal with the foreign key. This is just a just a short example, but tomorrow I will start with simple examples and then I'm going to get to this one. Not quite this one, it will be another example, but the same idea. Okay, so tell me please if you have questions. Okay, if you don't have questions, then I'm going to move to the part that is called the update. What do I mean by the update? I'm using update when I want to modify the value of a column or the value of multiple columns. The standard instruction is something like update the name of the table set, and I can set column 1 with expression 1, column 2 with expression 2, and so on, as many columns from my table as I want. Where condition. If I'm going to execute just the first part without the where, all the values from my fields that are specified here are going to be updated or modified to the values specified by expression 1, expression 2, and so on. And that's why I'm recommending to you to use this where. Try all the time not to modify all the values, because this is not what we are usually doing. Usually we modify a value if it's not the one that we want, and that's why we put this condition here. And I prepared to you examples with every condition that you have on the request. Yes, I tried to have an example for each one to know what you have to do. For example, let's take the example of the shops. You can see here the table. I'm not going to move on the beginning. The table shops has a PID as the name and the city. Okay, usually you don't modify the primary key because you're not allowed. And also, if you really need to modify the foreign key, pay attention to put there a value that already exists in the table in which is primary key. But usually we modify the other values. So I have update the name of the table. In my example, it's a shops set. I want to set the name of the city to be Alba Iulia. When the name of the city is starting with O, or the PID is greater than 3. Yes, first of all, I need to show you in this moment, before executing that update, I have in my table Oradea. You remember that that was the city that I inserted. And I'm going to update Oradea to Alba Iulia. And if you have then a select, you're going to have there Alba Iulia. This like clause, how it is working. If, for example, you want, in our case, the city to start with O, I'm going to have O%. Percent means 0 or more characters. If I want, let's say, the city to start with O and have at least 2 letters, this is going to be O underline %. O is the first letter, underline is taking the place of just one character anytime. One character is with underline, and that's why O underline are 2 characters and % is 0 or more characters. This is how the like clause works like.
So it's like a regex but with different syntax?
Yes, yes. Okay, so this is how it's looking. Or for example, if I want to contain the letter O, is going to be %O %. Okay, something like that. Or if it's ending with O, is going to be %O. And that's all that you need to know. Okay, now if I'm yes.
Could you read this part again with the O %?
Yes, I was telling that if you want your city, for example, to contain the letter O, you're going to have %O %. Yes, because it's contained. If you put it on the first position, it's starting. But if you want to contain, it's going to be on the first, second, whatever, doesn't matter. And that's why you put %O %. And if you want to be ending with O, of course, you're going to have %O. Oh, it's the last one. It's okay?
Yes, thanks.
Welcome, anytime. Okay, so we have the next example. I'm going to update the table that is called T's. I'm going to set the price to 10, where the quantity is less or equal than 2, and the name it's like underline A. With other words, has 2 characters and it's ending with A. It's very weird, but that's the condition. Of course, I don't have such a T, and that's why nothing is going to be updated. That's why you don't see the price then here. So this really happens when the condition is not fulfilled. It's not going to happen anything. It's just a command executed and it's there. That's all. But you tried. You tested the condition. Here being and, of course, both of the conditions should be satisfied. Yes, the first one was satisfied, but the second one was not satisfied for neither of the records that I was having in my table. Okay, so this is with the composed condition with logical operators. Then I have some updates with the condition with relational operators. I'm going to have here update ingredients, set name to oranges, where the price is greater or equal than 5 and the quantity is less than 3. I don't have either this condition fulfilled, but there is no problem. The idea here is to get used to combine these conditions, to work with them, to see how they are working. You can have, of course, your own examples on your database. It's good to try. Okay, and then I have is null or is not null. I tried both of them. For example, I updated the ingredients. I set the price to 8, where the quantity is null. Definitely the quantity is not null. That's why it does not do anything. But if I'm going to move here and I'm going to put where price is not null, you can see that the price is not null and the name is updated to flowers. Okay, so all of them were updated to the values that I specified there. If I want to use in, I'm checking here where quantity in this set. In, it's like a set in which you can have as many values as you want. A set from mathematics, with other words. You have to put it in right parentheses and to put between the values a comma. And you can see that on the second record, the price was updated to 20 because the quantity is 2. Okay, if you want to have between, it's just like checking here quantity between 2 and 4. It's like quantity greater or equal than 2 and quantity less or equal than 4. You can have that condition easier with between. Also, you need to pay attention to these conditions because this is why I'm showing you and you are required to test them because these kind of conditions can be used also in the select queries, in the queries more exactly, and are exactly the same syntax, only that we start using them and get used to them. Okay, so this is the between, this is the like, exactly as I told you, like statement. Again, what I'm having here, this name should have at least 3 letters, underline 1 letter, A another letter, N another letter, so 3 letters, and % is 0 or more characters. So name should have at least 3 characters and contain, and the first and the second letter should be A and the third should be N. That's the requirement here. Of course, nothing is fulfilled. Okay, so questions if you have related to update, please. Yes, yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. If you want to have something like that, let's say you want to increase the quantity, you're going to have here comma, quantity equal with quantity plus 2, for example, and then the quantity is going to be increased with 2. Or not, yes, yes, you can say. Then you don't put where. If you want to increase the quantity, let's say with 2, then you're going to have just update ingredients, set quantity equal with quantity plus 2, and that's all. You stop there. I'm sorry, I was having an example like that one. I don't know why it's not here. Yeah, maybe I forgot to put it here. I found it somewhere, but I don't know exactly where. Yes, but it's possible. And if you could not handle it, please ask me and I will help you. Okay, and if you have a little more patience, I would like to tell you something about delete, and then we will have the break of 10 minutes because I know you also need it. But this is short. Or do you want it to have it after the break? If you don't say anything, I think it's a no. Okay. or if you have something else, please tell me.
I guess it's fine. We can do this and then take the break.
Okay, perfectly. Okay, the delete is the last one that we are going to have today. The syntax for the delete is delete from name of the table, and of course we have the possible condition where condition. If you don't put the where condition, everything from your table is going to be deleted. Well, I'm referring of course to the record. But when you delete, please pay attention. Try not to delete what you have inserted before, because it's quite sad to delete everything. Of course, you can come back with all the records by executing again the inserts. That's also true. But on the delete, you need to pay attention to a very important aspect. Let's go back to the diagram. Let's suppose I want to delete from my T's. So I want to delete the T's. Is it possible? What do you think?
If we would have cascaded into ingredients, yes, we could have deleted them.
perfect. Yes, that's true. But if not, exactly as your colleague said, it's not possible. You're going to receive an error message. That's why the order in which we are going to delete all the time, it's the opposite order of inserting or of creating. All the time is the opposite. If I'm going, for example, to delete the shop's T's, so I'm going to delete the connection between the table, then I'm going to be able to delete also from the T's. And if I'm going to delete from the T's, then I'm going to be also allowed to delete from the ingredients. Okay, so this is the basic rule. All the time you delete first the connection or from the part that is the many part of the relation, and after that you can delete from the other table too. That is the part one of the relation. This is the only rule that you have to consider here, but you should try and see it. It's a better practice. Of course, I have an error for you here just to show you what error you are going to receive. For example, delete from ingredients where the price greater or equal than 5 and quantity less or equal than 3. And the ingredients indeed is this table, yes. But unfortunately, that ingredient is connected to a T. So that ingredient can be found in a T. Of course, you cannot delete the ingredient if the T that is using that ingredient exists. It's not logical if we think like that. And that's why you cannot delete it. But for example, if you first delete the shop T's, that means that you don't have that T in that shop. This means that you can delete that T. It's quite logical. The T is not any longer in the shop. It was deleted. And then, because that T does not exist, also you can delete the ingredient for that T. This is just...
But in SQL, in this SQL, can we have multiple cascading?
Multiple cascading?
As in, if ingredients was related to another table as well, and we wanted to cascade both into T's and into that table, would it be possible?
That's a good question. So I understood what you say. You cascade. Yes, I think it could be possible.
Because I know that in PostgreSQL and other, in MySQL as well, you can have this thing, but I'm not sure in this one too. I know there was one in which you couldn't do it.
Well, to be completely honest, I've never tried that. Yes, I've never thought about that because I usually don't use Cascade because I prefer to think by myself, and not because I didn't need it. That was the reason that I didn't check. I can check if you want, but to tell you honest, I'm not sure if it's possible. Only by testing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the rule, to be completely honest with you. So if you have here delete from, where, city, like, and you have exactly the same conditions, definitely I'm not going to read this example to you because our only example, and believe me, usually I couldn't delete because all the time was this error, and I put conditions such that I can check the errors and what is happening and how is happening. Better to say to have a better understanding. That was the idea, because you have also examples with is null or is not null in between, like to the others. But here you have with the delete. And my advice is just try some examples. Don't do a lot because you don't need. Just do the ones to get used with the conditions, and also try to check also this error to see it by yourself, because it's more it's more nice when you see it and when you try to check it by yourself. Okay, so please tell me if you have questions. You have also this document, and you also have, as I told you, the video. And on the video, I made the recording on SQL Server, and then I executed there. But maybe it's easy for you to try it by yourself if you want, if you consider it useful. Okay, so if you don't have questions, then let's take a break of 10 minutes and then we come back. I'm going to let this call, of course, open. I'm just going to put myself on the mute, and then I'm going to help you with what you need. Okay?